So we'll move quickly on, and I told you before the break that we have somebody special in the studio today. She's a social entrepreneur. Her name is Mrs. Bekeme Masade. So, Bekeme, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Tomi.
Yeah, I know you're Mrs., but I know Masade is your maiden name, so we have to refine that. So you tell them.
No, you can call me Ms. Bekeme Masade.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
No problem. It's fine with that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I do for business, so we can stick with that.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so Bekeme,
yes.
We know you're a social entrepreneur. You've done a lot, in creating awareness, and you have a company called CSR-in-Action, and you're the executive director.
Yes.
Do you want to tell us about CSR-in-Action?
Well, CSR-in-Action was set up to meet a need, and there was a dearth of information on social work in Nigeria, literally. And, I had worked in the UK, in the councils. I saw what was being done in terms of good governance. And so I thought, you know what, this is obviously a need in Nigeria. Governance is obviously, there's a huge gap in governance. And so we set up this enterprise to address the need for information, to encourage an awareness and advancement of collective social responsibility, literally. So that's what we're doing. We pursue it through advocacy work. We have annual conferences. We have a report on social investment in Nigeria. So basically, we look at what businesses are doing in terms of social responsibility and good governance in general. And then we report it for free. We also have a ranking, which we just introduced. It's called the 3C Index. And this time around we've partnered Accenture and Ernst & Young to give it that level of credibility that it requires, because we didn't want a challenge where people are saying, oh, who's this, not so big organization. So we wanted to address that to show that it wasn't about whether we liked the businesses or not. It was really about what they were doing, because every little thing counts in driving Nigeria to where we want it to be. And then we recently started an initiative called the Good Citizen, because we feel, again, that it's a collective responsibility for Nigerians to drive Nigeria where it needs to be. And the average Nigerian thinks, oh, I'm probably waiting for my turn. We're like, no, it's not about your turn. It's about Nigeria. So let's start thinking. You know how the Americans get excited and say, I'm American and proud. We need to be Nigerian and proud. And this is something that we're driving. And then finally, we do consultancy for businesses as well. Yeah.
You mentioned Good Citizen, and that was really catchy for me. Do you want to go further on that Good Citizen initiative? Do you want to talk about
Okay, so yes, the Good Citizen initiative is really citizen-driven.
Yeah.
The individual, the average man on the street. You need to start thinking. You need to start thinking of how you can be more responsible in the way that you vote. You need to be educated in the civic, in civic education. We need to get businesses involved. We need to look at recycling. We're working towards a one Nigeria, Nigeria that is for everybody, Nigeria that doesn't belong to the rich, Nigeria that doesn't belong to one particular region. But then again, it's about the individual consciousness of the fact that there is one Nigeria. We also need to define, certain concepts to people. Many people don't even know, understand the notion of corruption, for instance. So you hear people say things like, oh, well, I got a government official to do me some private practice because it's cheaper. And then some of the times, these are men of the cloth. So they don't even understand. So we're saying to them, sit back and think about the notion of right and wrong. Right? Recently, I read an article comparing Nigeria and Mexico, for instance, and even though we're very similar in terms of culture and everything, somehow they seem to be moving. How are they doing that, right? How are the other countries doing the things that they're doing? It is about the individuals. I just came from a course at Harvard, and one of my professors, Ricardo Hausman, was talking about monkeys jumping from trees. And literally what he meant was something he called person bites, how important the individual person bite is to the development of a nation. So it's about you as a person networking with other person bites to basically form, this strong coalition for national development. So we're saying to these persons, all of us in Nigeria, what do we do to drive Nigeria forward?
Yeah.
And so basically it's that consciousness. So we have a Twitter handle, Good Citizen NG. We have a website as well. We have petitions to people to sign up for and all of that. So I think it's really interesting, especially as the new government is coming in, and our president is known as a man of integrity. We're hoping that people start thinking about these things. It doesn't take one man to change Nigeria. We need everybody.
Collective. Yeah, I was going to say that obviously coming from a background of working in the local authority here, and we've obviously experienced living here, that social responsibility is a big thing in England, or rather in Europe. If you look at Nigeria, what do you think are the main priorities that need to be addressed in terms of social responsibility from your experience? Well,
the truth is, the average person thinks, oh, start giving me, welfare or what have you. In my opinion, it's about the structures, the institutions that we need to build, and this level of consciousness that I mentioned earlier. It's really not about giving back. It's about establishing a consensus. So starting from the little things. Yes, social infrastructure is necessary. We're looking at things like power. Power has to come to the fore. And then we talk about empowerment in the real sense. Our economy is not as diversified as it should be. So how do we really get people to become the sort of entrepreneurs that we want? Because we need product diversification in Nigeria. So how do we get to that point? So for me, I really see quick wins that we can build upon in the long run. So instead of trying to do too many big things at the same time, focus on the little things that you can get done and set a solid foundation. Speaking of having worked in the UK, for instance, I know that we had over 160 indicators that we used to measure the councils. And I know how my council, one of the councils I used to work for, used to be very particular about how well we did. Now, that's why we introduced that index for businesses, right? Because we're thinking, okay, how well are you doing? Now, many businesses are not necessarily excited, but many are also excited. Well, the ones that aren't excited is because nobody really has been putting, any pressure on them to do things in a certain way.
Right. I was just going to say that, I always say this on the breakfast show, that the trees that are growing are the forests of tomorrow.
Yes.
And that's the youths. In terms of social responsibility among the youths, not in the lovely parts of Lagos, where Tammy tells me, or Abuja. We're talking of, I've heard of a place called Sokoto. Is it Sokota?
Sokoto.
Sokoto. I've been told Sokoto is quite run down in terms of infrastructure.
And many other places.
And many other places. So a place like that, what do you think can be implemented in terms of social responsibility for the youths?
You see, this is not something that a president would look at. Well, he would in the general sense. But again, it's about the governor, whoever's governing the state. To some extent, they have some funding. What are you doing with the funding? What exactly is he doing with the funding? These are the questions that you need to ask. Is it about, because oftentimes you see what politicians typically think of themselves. Their drive for winning office is not necessarily for the people. It's about personal ambition. So when they stop thinking about themselves and start thinking about long-term value to the people of their state, literally many of these terms mean servant, so they have to serve. So when they start serving, their ideas out there for solutions.
We have a call on the line before we move on. I'm sure that's for you, Bekeme. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Okay, we know who is talking. That should be John.
Yes, John.
Okay, welcome to the show. I guess right. So, do you have a question for Bekeme?
Yeah, my sister, thank you very much for the encouragement.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But to be honest with you, I love your courage. But one thing I want you to always put in mind in your movement regarding Nigeria, in anything you do, anywhere you are, always let the government know that the system we are operating as a Nigeria is not profitable for us.
Yes.
I will be honest with you. I'm in Nigeria. I've lived in the North. I'm a Yoruba man. I've lived in the North and I've experienced the North. I'm not saying the North are not good to be in Nigeria. They are Nigeria. But we should always practice a system whereby everybody will be in their autonomy system. There is a way the Yoruba operate that benefits them. There is a way the North operate that benefits them. The federal government should just be like a supervisor. They should not impose any system that the system that Yoruba practice must be the system the Hausa must practice. No. You see, our system is our real problem. I won't lie to you. I have business here in this country too. But my sister, ask yourself, all the Nigerians that have business before, where are they now? Even in this country, those that have many houses in this country before we came here, where are they?
So, Julius, do you have an advice for Bekeme, or do you have a contribution?
No, it's just my advice to her that anywhere you go, any Nigerian you meet, always encourage them to know that the system we have is not profitable.
And how can we make it better, Julius?
You say you can be who you are. You can be who you are. But that doesn't mean you should not tell the truth. I'm who I am. I can help any Nigeria. But that doesn't mean if I see the opportunity to let you know that the system we are operating is not profitable. I won't lie to you, it's not.
Okay.
Ask yourself, all the business people in Nigeria, where are they today?
Okay.
It's the structure. The structure will kill you if you don't take time.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, John.
Julius, thank you so much. So I'm sure, Bekeme, you've learned something.
Like Julius, that was John.
John, true.
I mean,
John.
that call, it's not profitable. Tell John now, how can we make it profitable? That's John talking. He's one of our favorite callers, but then tell him that how do you think we can make it profitable?
I think one of the problems that we have as Nigeria is what he just said. People are still thinking of themselves as either Yoruba or Igbo or Igala or whatever tribe. And what I'm saying is that we detribalize. As long as we keep thinking that this is about me and my people, there is going to be a problem. Now, what we're prescribing is not necessarily, let's use a regional or a federal or whatever system. What we just need to agree is that we want to keep Nigeria.
As now, everybody.
Exactly. So we want to keep Nigeria. How we do that is then left, it's up to debate, really.
Yeah.
But then working with what we already have, how can we best maximize that structure? This is what we're talking about. So the less we think about what our names are, where they come from, you're thinking of the Western world where, you're born you originally come from Chicago and then you're born in Minnesota. And when somebody asks you, you say, oh, I come from Minnesota. You don't necessarily say, I come from Chicago. I come from wherever else I was born. That's what we need to start thinking about. It's about Nigeria.
Okay, we have another caller on the line. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for calling. Welcome to the show. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Yeah, my name is Alaji Adebanjo.
Okay,
I'm calling from Coventry.
Thank you, Alaji. Do you have a question for our guest here?
Yes, I love that lady. I love the passion she got for coming up.
Thank you.
I'm telling you, because Nigeria, as we Nigerians, we have everything it takes to be the best country in the world.
Alaji?
And what I want to tell you, if I am going to your website now, I want to know more about your passion of that country. The country is supposed to be the United States of Africa. It should be the leading country in Africa.
Yes.
Yeah.
Africa countries supposed not to be going to World Bank to borrow money. We're supposed to be keeping our African countries as our brothers and sisters. But what it says is that the good governance is what we needed in the country. If you see what Buhari is doing now by inaugurating National Economic Council, that is the way forward. And it's not the government alone. Every hand must be on deck to put this country forward.
Yes.
Don't think that those people ruling the Western world, they were in their mother world for 9 months, like our leader, like Goodluck Jonathan.
Okay,
Right,
thank you so much. Hello. Okay, thank you, Alaji, for your contribution. And Bekeme, they're all saying they respect your boldness and I respect your boldness too, because
I do, I think.
Nigeria is not something you can just take up like that and try to change people's mindset. It's really hard to change the mindset of Nigerians, trust me. So for you to stand in the gap for people and trying to be their voice, not even just in Nigeria, but in the international community, I think you're really doing something wonderful. And tell us about your work in the international community.
Well, we have partnerships with the international community. We have, for instance, we provide capacity building. So in a partnership with one of the UK universities, we provide social reporting services. Okay. This is what encourages disclosures, for instance.
That's the pictures coming up. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so we have some of those things, you know, with international organizations.
And that's the ex-governor of Lagos State, yeah?
You know, that's the NCDMB, Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board.
Oh, it looks like
that's the local content manager for Chevron.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah.
That's
what was happening there?
That's our conference. It's called Sustainability in the Extractive Industries Conference.
Oh, okay.
And basically we're saying, how do we make exploration less harmful to the people and to the environment, and how do we diversify that sector as well? I mean, there's renewable energy now, and the good thing is we have the resources to lead in that arena as well, right? We have our sun, the photovoltaic sources. We have not fossil fuels. We have, you know, lots of renewable materials that we can use, biogas and biofuels, right? We have all of these things, and we have little entrepreneurs trying to do it, but nobody is encouraging them because everybody is still focused on oil and gas. Yes, it makes us money in the short term, but the resources are finite, and you know, they can be very harmful to the environment. How about us doing what we need to do for the short term and then plan, you know, for that time when we can take over that space? We don't always have to follow. We have everything that we need. One of the callers said to us, "Oh, everything that we need is in Nigeria," and I agree. I typically don't source funding because, you know, we have a non-profit aspect to what we do, right? In fact, most of what we do is that. Yes, not quite charity, but it's focused on social development. So it's really not for profit. So we just secure enough funding to carry out the activities, right? So I typically don't get us to seek funding externally because it's all in Nigeria. But then what do we use the money for? You hear stories about the Jewish community, for instance, who typically, even the Mexican story I talked about, they spend their money internally, right? Apparently the Jewish community spends it maybe 30 times first within the community before it goes out with us. As soon as the money comes, we buy a yacht in Miami.
Right, we've got a caller. But I was going to ask you something. We've got a caller. Good morning and welcome to the Ben Breakfast Show. Tell us your name, where you're calling from, and please go ahead with your contribution.
Chief Kole Osho, I'm speaking from London. I'm speaking from Stockwell in London. Very good morning to you.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
To your guest.
Good morning.
May I say that unfortunately you seem to have diverted the subject from what it was intended. Is social enterprise, not social responsibility. Those are two different things. And gentlemen, I'm sorry I forgot your name, but please forgive me. You kept talking about social responsibility. Social enterprise is where people can do business without the capital, commercial motivation. Is how young people can start business in a on grassroots basis, rather than going to the bank to borrow, to feel that you cannot do business unless you go to the bank. Is how the community, how you can mobilize your community to come into business, and how the community can benefit from that social enterprise. May I just disagree with your dear guest, that I do not agree that you have to start in that macro basis, Nigeria, it should be grassroots. You cannot build a pyramid from top to bottom. It has got to come from the bottom to the top. And this is the way we should encourage our people, how they can use the synergy within the community to do something, rather than saying Nigeria, we are not competing with anybody in the world. Nigeria can never be a United States.
I don't agree.
Right, okay, just one second.
I don't agree.
Sorry, caller.
I think Nigeria can be the United States.
All right, we've got some interesting point. But you've just mentioned grassroots. Tell us more what you mean by grassroots, how things can be started from grassroots, how policies can be implemented at grassroots. That's a very valid point. Tell us more.
Well, grassroots really mean your community, how to encourage your brothers and sisters. I mean, I may not have business idea, but I may have some money in savings. If my brother comes to me with a business idea, how we can put it together, how we can use the baale in my community rather than the governor, who is politically motivated, how we can use the resources within our community. That's what I mean by grassroots.
Okay. And Bekeme was obviously against you saying that Nigeria cannot become a United States. I think Nigeria can become a United States.
No, please don't misquote me. What I mean is, why should that be our motivation? Why should it be that Nigeria must become very big? That should motivate us individually. That should not be. It's what we can do for and within our community.
Okay.
That should be our first
priority. Okay.
Rather than what Nigeria can do,
Okay.
I hope I made my point clear.
Yes, Chief. But before you go, Chief, we would like Bekeme to make a response to that.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, if you go back to the notion of what a social enterprise is, a social enterprise is basically an enterprise like every other business, but it's focused on social innovation, right? So you can be a social entrepreneur who's encouraging businesses to be more responsible. Now, and what I did say about our work, for instance, Good Citizen, is that we're working with the average citizen, which goes down to the grassroots. I mean, the grassroots is made up of individuals. And we work with diverse organizations like, JCI, Junior Achievement. So we don't, it's not everybody who's going to be an orphanage or a direct youth empowerment entrepreneur, right? There are people who were working from the policy angle, we're working from the institution building angle, right? And we're working with people who already proliferate that space. Now, the people who proliferate that space cannot be impactful unless there's some level of change in the institutions. Now, because these are the people who will fund their initiatives.
Yeah, before we go on, we have another caller, Bekeme. They are in for you today. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, welcome to the show. What's your name and where are you calling from, please?
Yeah, my name is Emmanuel. I'm calling from the Republic of Ireland.
Oh, thank you, Emmanuel, for calling. So what's your contribution, Emmanuel?
Yeah, I have to thank the young lady for such a brilliant idea.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, it's something that will be digested by most of the people, especially in Nigerian society today.
Yeah.
I have to say that when we are talking about the social, that is my own contribution of entrepreneur.
Okay.
It has to do with something with conscience, as one of your speakers mentioned there. It has to do with citizenship.
Yeah.
It has to do with regulation into business. And then when you look at all these three factors which I've mentioned, you ask yourself, how can we get it better? The only way we can get it better is by putting everything in a proper place. What I mean by putting everything in a proper place is not a rocket science. But the basic infrastructures of human beings to exist in such a society like Nigeria before we start thinking about United States. I know we will be there one day, but not as of now.
Yeah.
When the basic infrastructures are put in a place, like electricity, like rules and regulations of the country that will be monitored in such a way that will get a vibrant and efficient out of it.
Yes.
And then the institutions who are working must be sought in such a way that the right people are there. So if we get all these things right, I believe we are going to go further with that social entrepreneurship. Because this is a basic foundation of a community. And besides that, we ask ourselves a question: are we conscious enough? Are we applying the citizenship law? Are we applying the regulations? These are the three basic things. And that is why we still have to go back from our basic. Our basic, I mean, if you watch, if I should take it a little bit out of the game, right from the time the military came to government in that country, we ask ourselves, have they really succeeded in what they are doing? Even the democratic elected government, have they really succeeded? Then something is wrong in the system. And the only thing I think we can do, starting from the basic, getting the right infrastructures in place, and then we start building up. And the people who committed crime will be punished. We can't be shying away from it.
No, we can't.
If you watch our government, right from the time they come into existence, all of them committed the same crime. All, from military to present. So we have to shift from that idea, then build up another united Nigeria, so that people, the citizens, will be very happy.
Thank you so much,
Thank you so much,
Chief, for calling. Thank you. That was really, really good,
excellent
and
call.
I'm sure we all took something from it. So, Bekeme, obviously, we never have enough time every time, so we want to thank you for coming. What are your final thoughts? What are your final words you want to say?
Well, my final words with that will be that, you know, the average Nigerian starts thinking about what we can do to make Nigeria a better place. It's not about pointing fingers and saying that person didn't do that. The last caller just said it. Basic regulations, are you actually adhering to them? You know, these are some of the things that, you know, we should be thinking about. And then to be a bit selfish, I would also like to talk about our conference, which is coming up in October.
I was actually going to say, is it the collective social investment report? Is that
the collective social investment report is the free report we do for businesses, and as I said, we did introduce an index, and we're currently collecting the information for that, and then we'll have quality assurance by Ernst & Young, and then we're partnering different organizations, both locally and internationally, because people need to know about what is happening in Nigeria. There's a report by Accenture in South Africa recently, reimagining Africa. You know, that there's a $350 billion opportunity for Africa. So this sort of information helps to businesses to see raw data on what is happening.
So do you want to tell us about the
conference? Actually is the annual Sustainability in the Extractive Industries Conference. We typically have oil companies, mining companies supporting them. You know, we have the Shell, the Chevron. We have usually these diverse organizations coming together to talk about how we can better work the extractive industries, which would be oil and gas and mining. So like I said, we're looking at these opportunities, and we're looking for how we can. So the theme for this year is unleashing the potential within the extractive industries.
And what's the venue? When is it taking place?
The venue is Lagos, to be confirmed. It's on the 23rd of October. Where, you know, there will be exhibitions from people who are into renewable energy, as I did mention, and it's very, very, very affordable for anybody to come. So if they want to know more about the details, website? Our website is www.csr-in-action.org, so csr-in-action.org /SITEI. You should be able to find information about the conference there.
Thank you so much, Bekeme, for coming on the show.
Lovely.
And we really appreciate what you're doing in Nigeria. Thank you for helping Nigerians have a voice in the international community. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tumi.
Okay, so that's all for the guests. So we'll quickly go on the break now. When we come back, we'll continue the topics for today: Tunisia and Greece. Very important topics for today. And a few from Nigeria.
I was going to say, we need to talk about Nigeria. Do you think blackmail is real? Do you think blackmail exists? President-elect Muhammad Buhari is a brother-in-law.
Yeah.
There is an alleged statement in one of the online media publications that said he took a bribe, but then
of 300 million naira.
That could buy me 15 houses in Peckhamshire. Not Peckham, but Peckhamshire. We'll be right back after the break. Don't go away.